We believe in spiritual living. It is a philosophy that urges us to focus on how to think and not what to think. It invites us to practice this philosophy and apply it to our lives right now by living with principles. A relationship with God is a personal one. We believe that God is all that there is. Every person, place, or thing is not only an expression of God, but God itself. God is the absolute presence that not only creates, but is itself all things. All the love, peace, and beauty is in each of us as the presence of God right now. I know this of you too. You are just as divine because God is within you as well. Together we are all connected as one. Our faith allows us to apply our philosophy to our lives every day. As we live in love, we see love revealed and flowing through the world around us. We act as citizens of the spiritual community at all times. This is how we think. We believe in God, we believe in ourselves, and we believe in you, because we believe in spiritual living.
Good morning. Good morning again. Here it is, gosh, the fourth, is this the fourth Sunday or third Sunday? Third Sunday of the month. So we're halfway through the month. That's what's so significant. And before you know it, we'll be 6 months into this 2021 year, how fast time goes. So as always, as I begin, I just want to share with you and thank this dear, wonderful angel for our beautiful orchids this morning. We have two, one purple and one fuchsia on our altar, and it's just absolutely beautiful and breathtaking. And I thank you, wonderful angel that you are, that brings us flowers every Sunday. So I'll be with you again next Sunday as well. So what is ours to do? That's the focus that I'm taking us to today in celebration of the monthly theme for CSL, which is Holy, Holy Uprising. So I'm going to take us pretty much into an in-depth perception of Ernest Holmes as a science of mind. And I'm going to begin with the evolutionary vision that was shared through CSL. And it's a statement of our global vision. We envision a world where personal responsibilities joins with social consciousness in every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further the emerging global consciousness. So let us realize and accept that our higher consciousness benefits the world. And that's indicative of each one of us to recognize what it is that we think, how it is that we think, and what we utilize in our process of thinking. Because you see, there's only one truth. That's the reality. There's one infinite reality. We call it by many names. We may not reference it to any one specific identity, depending upon one's thinking, one's orientation, perhaps geographically where you're located, your belief systems, but it's not limited to God, life, universal, spirit, infinite intelligence, first cause, or the thing itself. This oneness creates everything out of itself, and therefore includes the absolute, the absolute and relative tangible and intangible, physical and metaphysical aspects of reality. Doesn't get any better than that. That's just exactly what it is. So what does science of mind teach us about the true nature that is the divine, and our intelligence is the universal mind? It functions at a level that we each conceive of it. So is how we conceive of our world, how we conceive of the greater world that extends and exists around us. You see, because we are made of pure spirit. That's just all of what it is that we are. We are made of the infinite intelligence of the whole of the one. Within our ignorance of our true nature and with our misuse of the law, we often bring about our own individual suffering. As spiritual individuals, we strive to heal our suffering by remembering the truth of our nature. And that's something that we struggle with. I shouldn't say struggle. It's something that we deal with on a daily basis. And it allows us to move into prayer. It allows us to forgive ourselves when it is that we have made a misstep. It allows ourselves to perceive the wisdom of what is. So we're always in this process of becoming more than we ever thought possible. And that's the good news. So we allow Spirit to work for us. It works through us. And we recognize this power to conceive of as a greater good and remove all unbelief. And I want to invite you to turn with me in the Science of Mind textbook to page 365, and I'm going to reference paragraph 3 and 4. It says, Ernest Holmes says, each of us then represents the whole. How should we feel toward the whole? The whole meaning all of existence. It's just life itself happening. In the old order, we thought of the whole as sort of a mandatory power, an autocratic government, an autocratic God, sending some to heaven and some to hell, and all for his glory. Now we are more enlightened, and we realize that there could be no such divine being. We have meditated upon the vastness of the universe as law, and we have said, God is law. There is a divine principle, which is God. In the new order of thought, we are likely to fall into as great an error as in the old thought, unless we go much deeper than thinking of God as merely principle. God is more than law or principle. God is the infinite spirit, the limitless conscious life of the universe, the one infinite person within whom all people live, the one individual whole. Isn't that kind of amazing and interesting if you hadn't thought about it? It truly assists us to not place a limit on God. God itself is bigger than anything that we can ever conceive of. We can just allow ourselves to travel to the nth degree of the infinite power of existence that is, which would take this lifetime and probably a million lifetimes forever and ever. So therefore, let's limit ourselves to this ability to think consciously, purposefully, reasonably, and allow ourselves to be in that consciousness of the fullness, the wholeness of what God is, and that is love. So the more that we can conceive of our living presence as we are, as that emanation of what God is, therefore we can love ourselves greater. We can love ourselves differently. We can allow circumstance to fall away to their native nothingness from which they came. Try saying that a couple of times. So it's important for us to face our fears, because as humans, that's a lot of what our life is about. And I'm going to invite you again to turn to page 246 of the 4th paragraph. Again, I'm wanting to include much of what I'm discussing with you today with the readings and the writings of Ernest Holmes, because he takes us there. He takes us to that place within us that goes beyond self-criticism, self-denial, self-limitation. So this is what he says about fear. Fear is not real. We should read and study, think and meditate upon those statements which tend to calm, to give poise and confidence, and erase all thought of fear and tension. That's a huge outcry. I'm going to read it again. We should read, study, think, and meditate upon those statements which tend to calm, to give poise and confidence and erase all thought of fear and tension. The subjective law can only operate upon that which is given it, so we must be very careful of our patterns of thought. Our patterns of thought. We live in a sea of perfect life, and we should take time to understand and sense this is, we live in a sea of perfect life, and we should take time to understand and sense this in our imagination. Boy, if you're like me, which I'm pretty sure we're an awful lot alike, I can imagine just oodles of stuff that never even happens. I can build upon that which never happens into greater infinity if I so chose. So moving back into the words of Ernest Holmes, he says, study, think, and meditate upon those statements which tend to calm. So meditation is something that we can just move into very instantaneously, whether we're at a traffic light or maybe it is that you have time to sit down and just breathe into yourself, as Adrian took us through a wonderful meditation this morning. I carve out a special time every day to just sit and meditate regardless of what's going on. I just tune out the world and tune within my inner world and make that connection with my God. We should think of ourselves as being surrounded by perfect life and poised in eternal calm. Can you do that? Can you really do that? We are in a sea of untroubled waters of life for which we may freely drink. It doesn't say sometimes or kind of sorta. It says freely drink. We must do the drinking. No one else can do this for us. I like to say it's an inside job. It is for us individually, the I that is we, to know thyself, to know when it is that there's this looming overwhelm that's attempting to take over your thinking, over your reactions, over your actions. And it is necessary for us to tune within, to turn within, to tune on to that frequency that says, God is here, right where you are in this very moment. So we allow ourselves to be still, to find calmness, to go to that holy place that is within us. It's always there. We have to remember to turn to it. So, remembering that our presence is a benefit in the world. A benefit in the world. How interesting it is when many times we think of ourselves, why, who cares about me? Who cares about what I do? Do I really make a difference? Your presence is a benefit in this world. It truly is. And on page 301 in the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes confirms that for us. He says, we live in mind, and it can return to us only what we think into it. No matter what we do, law will always obtain. If we are thinking of ourselves as poor and needy, then mind has no choice but to return what we have thought into it. It is done unto you as you believe. It is done unto you as you believe. Thoughts of failures, limitation, or poverty are negative and must be counted out of our lives for all time, not some time, but for all time. God has given us a power and we must use it. We can do more toward saving the world by proving this law than all the charity has ever given to it. How many times have you relaxed in the situation that seems like it wants to flood over you, and you just simply call quits and just say, peace, be still, and you allow God to just guide and direct, and the next thing you know, you've awakened into a whole reality that has removed you out of the circumstance. I know I have. And what is true of me has got to be true of you. So it's important to remember that our presence is important in the world. We matter. Love is more powerful than hatred, and the truth sets us free. So increase your integrity, understanding, and capacity for compassion. In doing so, you too can change the world. You change your world, the world that is around you, the world that is active about you, the world that you live in. No matter the political affiliations, sociological, cultural experiences, religious, spiritual paths, God is always right. So we turn to God. We turn to that greater authority that lives and breathes through us. What could shift if we embrace and communicated courageously, openly, and vulnerably about these things many of us avoid? We're pretty good at avoiding, aren't we? We get so caught up in the emotion of what's happening, and we just think, my way is the right way, your way is the highway, and then there's God's way. So we have to surrender our own way, to be still, to realize what is the perfect outcome in any situation. And it's always God's way, which is always right way. I tend to look at the contrast between right and wrong, because all there is that exists is right here, right now. So however you show up as is right. Now, your perception of what shows up may feel wrong, but what it is that you act out in that moment is right, because that's all that there is. So in looking at that and evaluating that, how did God show up as me? What did I express in this moment as the reality of my God life that lives and breathes me? So it certainly assists us to say, that wasn't so cool. Maybe I need to forgive the moment and rethink how I need to show up. I need to sit down, meditate. I need to pull back, withdraw. I need to shift gears, so to speak. So in essence, it's a matter of slowing down to allow ourselves to reconnect with that absolute truth that lives in us, as us. So on page, again, back to the Science of Mind textbook, on page 403, paragraph 2, Ernest Holmes talks about limitation. Because you see, our mind accepts anything and everything. It's what we think about. It's what we do. So within our thinking, oftentimes, we have very limited thinking. We put limits, we put bookends on our thinking. And we establish a very narrow corridor by which it is that we feel that we must proceed behaviorally. And this is what Ernest Holmes says with regards to limitation. Limitation is a condensation of the idea of want. Mind accepts this idea as though it were true and then makes it true in our experience. Again, everything occurs within our life from the time that we awaken, maybe from the time we're born to the time that we expire, that life expires. It is a momentary experience of what we think about. Whatever it is that we're thinking about shows up through our actions. It is not always easy to see this, nor is it easy to rise above it, but it can be done, and we should begin at once to control our thought patterns in such a way that they will produce plenty instead of lack. Isn't that exactly what we all want? This morning, Adrian read the call to action, and he stated, and I'm just going to repeat because he read it so beautifully, we dwell in the oneness of God even when appearances suggest an absence of the divine. In bringing this lesson to a close, or kind of coming to a synthesis about what it is that we're talking about, I invite us to just allow these words to just wash through us. Imagine yourself experiencing complete physical and emotional wellness, a state of inner peace. And maybe you might want to stop and take a deep breath right now to just establish a sense of experience within that is completely physical and emotional, the wellness as a state of mind of your inner peace, of your inner peace. Imagine feeling perfect love, casting all fear aside. Feel perfect love for yourself. How many times, oh my goodness, do I want to convey love to someone else while I'm really beating myself up for something I thought about or something I forgot to do or whatever that is. Be kind to yourself first before you extend that emotion out to another. Be who you be. Be that love of God that is within you. Be just as you are, the perfection of what God is. Allow this feeling to flow throughout your body temple. Each breath is of ease and comfort. And on page, again, we're switching back again to the Science of Mind textbook, to page 118, paragraph 2, we're going to focus on love. Let me get to it here. Okay. And Ernest Holmes says, since we are dealing with an infinite power which knows only its own ability to do, and since it can objectify any idea impressed upon it, there can be no limit to what it can, or let me read that again. There can be no limit to what it can or would do for us, other than the limit of our inward embodiment. So guess who gets to act out, to show up as it is that which is within you. You can't blame somebody made me do that, or if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't have done this or whatever. Begin to assume responsibility for your own actions, your own thinking, and recognize that the power of God that lives you is accountable. So live in that embrace of love. Limitation is not in principle nor in law, but only in the individual use we make of principle. Our individual use of it can only equal our individual capacity to understand it, to embody it. We cannot demonstrate beyond our ability to provide a mental equivalent of our desire. A mental equivalent. As you think about it, so be it. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? So it's really important to recognize the power and the authority of what love is. And again, that love that resides within you. That love that is God. That God that is you. So it's so important then to remember to consider who I am, what I am, how am I showing up in the world, how is it that I can make a quality difference in the world as only I can? What is it for me to do? What is it for you to do? I can't tell you what that is, but I know for me what it means is that I'm to be as authentic as I can possibly be, to commit to myself of being an authentic individual, to commit myself to studying, to realizing the truth that God is. And the more I know about what God is, the more I know and realize and accept the truth of who I am. I have no particular outcome to create to be other than in the moment. In the moment. And I invite each of you to recognize that truth for yourselves, to show up in the moment as to the truth, the absolute truth of who it is that you are. To take responsibility for your actions in that moment of what it is that you're feeling, responding to. Because it's all environmental. It's who we are within the midst of any situation that calls us forth. So we let go of shame and blame, and we become much more accountable for ourselves to be responsible. So I have some affirmations that I would like for us to consider. And they're affirmations that we can move into within ourselves because it's all God. It's our responsibility to live as we individually choose. And sometimes just a quick affirmation makes that quality difference for us, that connects us to the truth of who we are because we remember the truth. So let us affirm, and I'm just going to go through these slowly. I am happy. I am happy. I am safe. I am safe. I am healthy, peaceful, and strong. I am healthy, peaceful, and strong. I give and receive appreciation today. Boy, is that a biggie. To accept the goodness of the universe. I give and receive appreciation today. I love myself the way I am. Boy, I've heard that song. There's a song that says, I love myself just the way I am, and I continue to grow or something like that. But I love myself the way I am. Maybe that's something worth saying every morning when you get up in the morning and you start off for your day, just to love yourself. I rejoice in this renewal of my mind. I rejoice within the renewal of my mind. In gratitude, I let me be. In gratitude, I let me be. That's a powerful statement, being thankful for who and what it is that you are. So what is it about what it is for us to do? I say be who you be, and then do what you do. Because once we affirm and confirm, realize the truth of what we be, that emanation of the divine, that truth that is awake, aware, alive, breathing, spiritual being, that we have the responsibility to assume for ourselves, about ourselves, to live the quality of life that brings us joy. That brings us joy, that brings us satisfaction, that brings us completion each day as we lay down to go to sleep, to surrender the day's activities. We allow ourselves to go into that space of peace, of inner joy, of peace and gratitude and self-love. That is the awakening of God within us. And it's every day, 24/7, 365. So the more that we can think about what is ours to do in the greater world, and gosh darn, I put on the news and I'm so saddened, my heart hurts for the situations that I see that are happening across the ocean. And yet I have no judgment. I just know at some level, at some point, within the realization of their ability to think, to feel, to perceive, to organize their thinking into the action of what it is that they believe, that something that I call God, the divinity of life that is so beautiful and so much worthy to experience within every living soul, that peace will come to their hearts. That love will overshadow the fear and the consciousness of despair. What I know for the world, I know for myself. And what I know for myself, I know for you. And in knowing so, we believe that there is truly a holy, holy uprising. And it begins with each and every one of us. I give thanks. I give thanks for this time to be with you, to share the thoughts of Ernest Holmes, the teachings of Science of Mind, to share with you my inner thoughts, my beliefs, my attitudes, my walk. For as I walk and step forward out into life, I know you go with me, and I go with you. Peace, be still, and know that you are loved, for you are love. And so it is. Amen. So let's just close our eyes right now. Let us be within that consciousness of ultimate truth. The stillness holds a consciousness that is abiding. That stillness that invites each one of us into that space of calm and peace. And within that calm and peace, there is that eternal vibration of love that speaks and feels and touches every sense of our being. So therefore, you may have the ability to smell something very sweet and wonderful right now. You may have the ability to feel a tingling sensation throughout your body. You may simply feel the awareness of the stillness. Whatever it is that's individuated within you, just be with it. Just be within this place of healing temperament that stills the mind, that stills the body, that aligns the body, the mind, the soul into the greater wholeness of each and every one of us. For this is our living truth. It is the living truth that is always with us. The us that is connected at the heart, at the soul of God. It is that inner quality that goes with us, before us, as us, that expresses through us, through our smiles, through our tears, through our laughter, through our voice. And yet we become still to listen to that deeper wisdom within that simply says, my child, I am with you. So as we move into this intelligence of greatness, of fulfillment, of surrender, that we know what it is that we are to do in life. We are to do in life living is to be that beautiful quality of who each one of us is, to call it forth, to release that which no longer serves, to move into that essence of joy, high joy that I call it, high joy, to realize that joy is so significant that it raises the volume of love within each and every one of us, and we become so much a greater soul of existence. So knowing that as we walk and breathe and talk and touch our world through our hands, as we touch through our eyes that we see about us, that we touch with our mind as we perceive, intellectually receive the goodness of all that is around us, that we feel this inclusion of being safe, being protected, being guided, that we feel and sense and know that the love of God is right where we are 24/7. 365. From the time we are born until the time that we leave this earth. So accepting the power of this thought, the magnitude of what God is, we allow God to be within us, as us, through us, and the blessedness that it shines forth and all might see. We affirm together as one voice in unity of the holy, holy, and so it is. Amen. Thank you for being here this morning. Look forward to next Sunday spending time with you, and our wonderful practitioner in training, Yvonne, will be with us. And I want to thank Adrian, practitioner in training, for the wonderful skills that he has, and also the fact that he's a practitioner in training. And again, as he said earlier, remembering this Thursday at 6 o'clock, they will be taking their practitioner exam. So we know that the level of God that flows through each and every one of them transfers from their head to their hand to the pen to the computer, whatever it is that they're utilizing as a ways of communicating. Their love of God comes through in a most beautiful, magnificent way. And also for Reverend Liz, we bless you, we love you, and knowing that the healing power is right where you are. And a closing thought I have to say, I was with Dr. Ruth Wilkerson again this Friday, and we continued to affirm for her the beauty and the glory of who she is. She's living in joy of a different world, but we love her, we bless her, and just know to continue to pray for her as well, as we do for each other, as always. Have a beautiful week. See you next Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thank you for participating in our service. You can do online giving by texting GIVE to 951-420-6909. You can visit our website at cslbeaumont.org and click the donate button at the bottom or the top of the screen. Or you can mail your donation to Center for Spiritual Living, 802 Maple Avenue, Beaumont, California, 92223. If you enjoyed this service and are watching on YouTube or Facebook, please like and share this video and add a comment on it. If you haven't already on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and hit the little notification bell to be updated when we post new content. For those on Zoom, visit our Facebook page to comment and share to help spread this message.